What's up guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Alolan DataDex with me, TheOneIntegral, and today we're going to be covering the dragon fighting type Kommo-o because there was a vote between Delmise and Kommo-o and you guys chose Kommo-o. So I'll preface the video with, I have no idea how to correctly pronounce Kommo-o. I'm going to say Kommo or Kommo-o. I don't know which way is right. Both ways I've said it, or however different way I've said it, someone's already told me I'm wrong, so I have no idea the right way to pronounce it, so we'll just go with it and, hopefully you guys will have to survive through it. But of course we have to sort out next episode's vote, and it being episode 130, so we're 30 episodes into the Alolan part of the Pokemon DataDex. We are going to be looking at one of the box legendaries. We have Solgaleo or we have Lunala. So would you like the Steel Psychic type or the Psychic Steel type or the Psychic Ghost type covered next episode? Let me know by commenting either Solgaleo or Lunala down below in the comment section, and the one with the most votes will indeed be covered next episode. But for now, let's jump in and have a look at Kommo-o. Kommo-o is number 784 in the National Pokédex and is a dragon fighting type, as I mentioned, as well as being the scaly Pokemon. It stands at 5 foot 3 inches tall or 1.6 meters tall and weighs 172.4 pounds or 78.2 kilograms. It's in the dragon egg group only, and the male-female sort of split is a simple 50-50. Evolution wise, we have of course Jangmo-o at level 35 to Hakamo-o, and then Hakamo-o further at level 45 into Kommo-o. Looking at its base stats, we can see its highest base stat is actually defense at 125, so it's sort of, I'd say, our first defensive pseudo-legendary. Next down is attack at 110, then moving down we have special attack at 100 as well as special defense at 105, just a bit higher. Speed at 85 and health points at 75, so generally it's a pretty good sort of an average move spread, or a stat spread rather, whatever you would want to call it. Obviously very high defense and attack, and then very decently high special attack and special defense too. So overall, I'd say pretty good stats. Looking at the abilities, there are 3 available. The first 2 are the 2 proof abilities. We have Bulletproof and we have Soundproof. In terms of which one's better, Bulletproof, basically they just make you immune to particular moves. So Bulletproof protects you from ball and bomb moves, so anything that Energy Ball, for example. There are other ones as well because it's sort of translated from Japanese, so there are a few that you wouldn't expect, like I think Aura Sphere it's immune to as well. And then Soundproof obviously is just sound-based moves, so Echoed Voice, Hyper Voice, stuff like that. So really, either way, either one could be used. And then the hidden ability is Overcoat, which protects it from sand, hail and powder. Powder's not a huge thing in competitive, but sand and hail, sandstorm, hail obviously can be quite annoying, so it's a bonus there, I suppose. Looking at the typing, being a dragon fighting type, I'd say it's a pretty good type in overall. Looking at the whole picture, it actually resists a total of 7 types with grass, fire, water, electric, rock, bug and dark. It's weak to 6 or 6, 5, I can't count. We have flying, psychic, ice, dragon and fairy. Fairy of course is at 4 times weakness, so that's what you really want to watch out for. And then takes neutral from the other 6 types: normal, fighting, poison, ground, ghost and steel. So I'd say it's a pretty good typing. It gets 2 great stabs in dragon, not dragon, but dragon and fighting. Fighting definitely a decent stab to have, and yeah, so that's really it for this typing. Looking at the moves then, there are actually quite a few you can use, because really looking at its stats, you can use it either as a physical attacker or a special attacker. The first move we have is an evolution move from Hakamo to Kommo-o, and that is Clanging Scales. It's a special move, 110 base power. It is a dragon type. The only sort of downside to it is once you've used it, your defenses do drop. Your physical defense, at least. Your special defense is quite alright, so it's not quite as bad as close combat, but it still is a defense drop, so it's definitely the move you want to use when you are confident you can take the enemy out. Then some level up moves, of course. We have first level 43, Dragon Claw, definitely a good option for a dragon stab. It's physical, 80 base power, pretty decent there, so obviously Clanging Scales for a special set, Dragon Claw for a physical one. Then we have level 59 Dragon Dance, definitely another option for your physical set there to raise both your physical attack and your speed. Get 1 or 2 of these off and you'll be doing a lot of damage. And then one final level move is Outrage at level 67, more powerful than Dragon Claw, but of course there is the resultant effect of being confused, so definitely want to think about when and if you want to run that. Then looking at the TMs, first we have TM26 Earthquake, definitely a good choice to run on the physical set because it's decent power, good coverage, all that good stuff. Then TM35 Flamethrower as an option for a special set, fire type move, not quite as powerful as Earthquake but still does a lot of damage, definitely an option there. And then we have TM52 Focus Blast, which does a lot more damage than Flamethrower, at 120 base power, but of course does have that quite low accuracy, so you want to think about whether or not you need the extra power or not. Then, if you're not into the Dragon Dance, you can definitely go for Sword Stance at TM75. Instead of raising your speed, you raise just your attack, but this time by 2 stages, so definitely another option to run. If you're less worried about speed, so maybe you're going for a defensive set, I'd say, would be an option there. Then we have another physical move at TM84, Poison Jab. Obviously cover your Fairy type weakness, so if a Fairy comes out, Poison Jab him. Doesn't have quite a huge base power, but still does decent damage. And then your option for dealing with fairies in a special set is TM91 Flash Cannon. Steel type move rather than poison, but still does the same job, same power, just special rather than physical really. Okay, some more ones. We have 2 heart scale moves first that you can learn via heart scale, I would say. The first of these is Autotomize, which of course is a status move. This move is sort of the other half of Dragon Dance, so you have Sword Stance coming off that side, we have Autotomize. The other one, it raises your speed stat by 2 stages and also does decrease your weight, which isn't a huge thing to look at when looking at the speed boost really, but it's the other half. So we have Sword Stance for pure attack gain, we have Autotomize for pure speed gain, so if you have an adamant set for example, you can go for Autotomize, get one of these off, and you have a very high speed stat that you can start wrecking kids with. The other heart scale move we have is Sky Uppercut. This is really your best fighting type move you can run, apart from obviously Focus Blast for special. For physical sets we have Sky Uppercut, 85 base power, so not powerful, but it's the best one you can get basically, so that's really what you have to use here. And then final move is via Tutor, and that is Draco Meteor of course, for a special set, 130 base power, 90% accuracy, but of course it's going to do a lot of damage if you hit it. So those are the moves we have for Kommo here. We're going to look at 3 sets. The first one is going to be a special choice spec set. The second one is going to be a jolly physical life orb set. And then the third one is going to be another special set, but this time looking rather than choice, looking at doing some other magic stuff with. So basically if you want to go for a choice set, choice specs is your best bet since that has the higher power moves. So moveset wise we have, in terms of our first lot, we have Clanging Scales or Draco Meteor, Focus Blast, Flamethrower, and then Flash Cannon. Ability is Bulletproof or Overcoat, or even Soundproof if you really want, but any of them work quite well I suppose. Nature is Timid or Modest depending on how you want to do it, and the Helm of course, as I mentioned, is a choice specs. EV wise we have maximum special attack and speed, with the last few in physical defense. So the first thing we have to look at is the moves. Clanging Scales or Draco Meteor. Clanging Scales, not as powerful, lowers your defense. Draco Meteor, more powerful, lowers your special attack by 2 stages. So if you use Draco Meteor, that's basically it. Your choice into it anyway. So you either use another Draco Meteor, which does maybe a bit of damage, and then lowers your special attack even more. So after 2 turns of being in battle, you are not doing any damage at all. Whereas Clanging Scales, you still do a lot of damage after 2 turns, just means you can have lower defense. So in that case, it's really dependent on how what usage you're seeing for this combo. Are you looking to switch in and fire off a huge nuke with a Draco Meteor, or are you looking to switch in, stay around for 2 or 3 turns, and then switch out again? It really depends on that. Focus Blast is a really powerful move as your second stab, hence why we paired it with choice specs in this set, because we want to really just power, shoot off the huge nukes, and it pays off if you hit basically. And the last 2 options are Flamethrower and Flash Cannon. Flash Cannon for the fairies, and Flamethrower is good coverage as well for grass, bug, stuff like that. Ability, as I mentioned, Bulletproof or Overcoat, either of them work. No ability you have is a clear contender for the best ability. They each make you immune to certain things, and none of them is something you particularly be worried about, I suppose, normally. So that's the options there. A timid or modest nature depends on whether you want a fast or a very powerful one. You can pair timid with choice specs, because choice specs is going to shore up that special attack power anyway, or you can say I'm going to go modest and choice specs because I want huge nukes. You might only be able to get 1 or 2 off because you're slower, but you'll do a lot more damage, so that's the options you have there. This is sort of mirrored, I suppose, in the EVs with maximum special attack and speed, because we want to be as fast as possible and do as much damage as possible. The last 4 in defense just to boost that even higher really. In terms of how you use it, it's a simple choice set. You'd switch in, use moves, switch out. Simple as that. So moving on to the second set, which as I mentioned was a physical one based on a life orb, because we don't really want to use a choice band with it, simply because it doesn't have it doesn't have as powerful physical moves. So the highest one you can get is Outrage, which you don't really want to be choiced into, because it means you are going to be stuck in battle until you get confused, and then obviously have to switch out. So the moves that we have is Sword Dance or Dragon Dance, Dragon Claw or Outrage, Sky Uppercut, and then Poison Jab or Earthquake. Ability, as before, is Bulletproof, Overcoat, Soundproof, any of those really. Nature, similarly, is Jolly or Adamant rather than Timid or Modest. Held Item this time, as I mentioned, is a Life Orb though, and the EVs are very similar to before, except instead of having maximum special attack, we have maximum physical attack. So this is a dance set basically. You have a Swords Dance or you have a Dragon Dance. So Swords Dance will boost your attack by 2 stages each use. Dragon Dance will instead boost your speed and your attack by 1 stage each use. So the choice here is really linked to the nature. If you go for a Jolly nature, probably run Swords Dance because you have that faster speed anyway. If you're running an Adamant nature, probably better to run Dragon Dance because you can have a bit more power on your side anyway thanks to the Adamant nature, but your speed will be slightly lacking, so a Dragon Dance or 2 will shore that up. So really that is linked to the nature there. The choice of Dragon Claw or Outrage, I would go for Dragon Claw personally. It's less damage, but you don't have to worry about being stuck in there for 2 or 3 turns and then giving the opponent an easy switch into a Fairy type and then doing whatever they want to you. Sky Uppercut is your next stab really, and then the choice of Poison Jab or Earthquake is up to you in this set. Poison Jab of course is your decision for the Fairy, so that's what I'd recommend, but Earthquake can be used for just general otherwise, coverage. In terms of ability, I've mentioned before, similar to the last set, any will do. Nature, I've already mentioned, is linked to the dance. Held Item is a Life Orb because just to give us a lot of power really. Choicing, as I mentioned, wouldn't really work, especially for this set where we have a dance in it. You could go for Leftovers and but it's slightly more defensive if you want to go that route. Just beware that if they have a Fairy type move, you're probably not going to last long anyway. EV wise, it's as mentioned similar to the last set, except this time we're boosting our physical defense, or physical attack rather, to the maximum, and just, same as before, being fast, doing damage. How would you use this set? Well, the idea is to possibly switch in on a Pokemon that is not going to be able to deal with your Kommo-o, so maybe they will switch out, so it means you get a free Swords Dance or a free Dragon Dance depending on what you're running, and then say to switch a Fairy type in, you have Poison Jab hopefully there to deal with it, or any other Pokemon, hopefully you have a move to cover it, hopefully you're faster because you're Dragon Dance / Jolly nature, and then hopefully you can take them out or at least deal a huge chunk of damage to them with that one attack thanks to the Swords Dance or the Dragon Dance really. So that's the choices and the way you go around using the Kommo-o there. So let's look at the last set. It's similar, but of course we can't use Swords Dance or Dragon Dance because those boost physical attack. So for our special setup set, we have Autotomize instead. And that's our first move, followed up by Clanging Scales, Focus Blast, and then Flash Cannon or Flamethrower. Ability mentioned as previous sets is anything. Nature is a modest one this time, and a Held Item will be Life Orb similarly. And the EVs wise, we have a nice big separate spread here. We have maximum special attack because that's all the power. 180 speed though, because we don't need a huge amount of speed investment, because if we get an Autotomize up, that's 2 times +2 on our speed sort of stat, so really it doesn't, the extra 70 EVs wouldn't matter a huge amount. So we can put 72 in health points and then the last 4 in defense as usual. The 72 health points is just to make us a bit bulkier, because of course we are, I guess, taking a bit of a risk in doing the Autotomize, because it's not making us any more powerful, so we could go for the attack anyway, but the Autotomize will make us faster and allow us to sort of start sweeping through the team. This also links in the Clanging Scales as well. Autotomize, of course, is the choice of setup there. Clanging Scales is our, rather than Draco Meteor, because we don't want to Autotomize +2 speed and then Draco Meteor and then -2 special attack, because then you can't really take advantage of the speed anymore. So Clanging Scales is what we want. It is going to reduce our defense each time we use it, but of course the idea is to be as fast as you can, that you can just keep one hitting them, so they never actually get hit in. Of course, you're not always going to be one hit killing every Pokemon, or many Pokemon at all, but it's still a better choice than Draco Meteor, because otherwise that would just completely nullify your setup. Focus Blast is there for the power, because obviously you want these powerful moves. You don't want to be, setting up your Autotomize and then throwing off little tackles, because then that's not taking advantage of it. And of course, Focus Blast is really your only special fighting type move. A choice of Flash Cannon or Flamethrower. Of course, Flash Cannon is your Fairy type coverage, so if you're not running that, you have the risk of them switching a Fairy type in. One of your stabs is immune, they're immune to one of your stabs, they resist the other one, so of course you're left with Flamethrower to deal with, and that might not go quite as well as you want, so Flash Cannon definitely something about running, or of course Flamethrower is the other option just for coverage. Nature is a modest one this time, because we don't need a Timid Nature, because once we get an Autotomize off, we'll be fast as we want to be, basically. So we want that power. There's no point running Timid and Autotomize, because then we're not going to have enough power to actually take advantage of that speed boost once we get it. Held Item is a Life Orb similarly, because of course we need to power up as much as possible, and the EVs we've already spoken about really in terms of how that affects it. We want the maximum special attack for the power, don't need quite maximum speed, because we can actually use a Totemize and completely shore that up and just you know, not even need to think about it anymore. So, you know, how would you use this set? Again, it's similar. You want to switch in and force them to switch, allowing you to set a more Totemize up, and then you can start, hopefully, you know, going over. So of course, if they have a Clefairy, a Clefable, for example, you probably don't want to send Kommo-o in to set it up, because they're just going to send Clefable in. It's going to soak up your Flash Cannon, really, even, you know, with your Modest Nature. It's not going to take a huge amount of damage from it, and then it will just Moonblast you, and that'll probably be that for you. So you don't want to be careful in terms of that. So really, set all Totemize up, and you can start going through the team, but of course wait maybe until the end of the battle or the match to actually send it in and set it up, for that to sweep through the rest of the team, and you can use them like so. But that's going to be it for today's episode of the Alolan DataDex. Don't forget to vote for next episode's Pokemon, one of the box legendaries, the Sun or the Moon, either Solgaleo or Lunala. Let me know which you'd like to see commenting down below. But for now, this is going to be it for today, so I shall be seeing you next time. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, my friends.